This is IBM Museum, and in this video I'm going to do a little bit deeper dive of the Ahead Eagle video board for microchannel. And I've got a package I received today that to determine kind of the best. I think I'm going to flip to the camcorder. That'll give me a little bit better view, and I can get the webcam out of the way. And so I've been over this in a little bit in a previous video, to where I've got, and I'll go through and I'll bring up the page here in just a moment. This is just a standard Ahead box. This is what I received, the Enhancer Z, as seen in that label, years ago. I received a new box, and one of these, probably, I've got 3 of them now, and I think one I still have. Yeah, this one may have been the one I initially received. The other 2 are fully populated otherwise. And for those that really don't know, I thought my camcorder was going to be the best way to do this. Okay, I just have to be careful not to bump the tripod. And so this is the I think the first one I received, and I pulled an EEPROM to read it at one point, I think, and it looks like it's missing a memory chip, and that won't be too hard to replace. I should source that quick enough. I'll have a chance and just to get in a replacement for that, and it'd be easy to burn the EEPROM. We'll be talking about these EEPROMs in a bit here. And you say this is a VGA board, but it doesn't have any output on it, but it actually does for microchannel. This is the AVE extension here, and the system goes through and cycles the video signals out, or communicates with the signals that's on the base video. And in a PS2, typically that would be the planar VGA, but you can also have other video that is effectively tied into the system that this receives output. And this actually gets it provides a signal back to the system. I think it was ultimately named as the Enhancer Z, probably for the 50Z being one of the possibilities of the target machines, and it's 16-bit microchannel otherwise. And so it goes through, and it basically has a more advanced video chipset and VRAM, and goes through and puts that to where it can be used on the system board connection. And then the BIOS ROM extension goes through, and you're able to it adds modes to the capabilities of the video. So I want to make sure that I don't have just a whole bunch of my backside kind of getting in the way of everything here, just to show the board, and I may go through and move it around a little bit. Now, this branded Ahead chipset, being that V5000-50PC-A, and this board came out, I think, in '88. I mean, it was relatively on the heels of the of the PS2s, the microchannel PS2s coming out. And I went through, and at a later point, here's a board that's fully populated. This doesn't give really any date codes on that EEPROM. And I've gone through and I've read these EEPROMs, and that's all used to go through and to make a chip, to make a EEPROM for my board that misses them. But there's the V5000-50PC-B. Okay. And I guess that has a date code. It says Japan, the 16th week of 1990. This 1989, the 3rd week for the date code there. And I kind of saved presenting this one until a little bit later, in that you see that this has the chips and technology, and that's labeled as an F82C451. Even has the label West Germany, date code of 1988 in the 13th week. So, you know, relatively early in the year, 4 weeks to a month, being, you know, somewhere there in April, 13th week, typically about the first week of, or second week of April, maybe. And this is the chips and technology. That 82C451 is the first VGA chip that was developed outside of IBM. So effectively, this is a VGA board. I mean, they might as well put a RAM DAC on it that converts it over to analog signaling, and a VGA port is the one way they could have done that. But they go with that, using that AVE extension. And so the Eagle that I received, a couple weeks back, and that's, you know, very similar appearance of a board. Doesn't have any of the AVE or the base video extension on this. So, I mean, this could be plugged in a system, and, you know, this is the card that we want to look at deeper, because it looks like a lot like the Enhancer Z. And again, it has that chip marked there, the same as the, you know, this is the B version that we saw. And the 90th, in 1990, the 16th week. And as you see from the FCC ID, this is called the Eagle from Ahead Systems. And there's the RAM DAC, and there's the VGA port. So effectively, this is just like the Enhancer Z, but it's got the RAM DAC and the VGA port. And nothing with AV, the auxiliary video extension down here that we'd expect. Now, I've got a comment on the one before, and thankfully this is not the same adapter, because as was on the eBay auction, because it looked like it was it might have had some corrosion on there. And this doesn't have an EEPROM label. I've heard the comments, oh, you better get that covered and everything else. In reality, I mean, it takes UV light to effectively erase these. And just sitting around like this, it's not going to go through and erase this EEPROM. I mean, normally I don't want it exposed to the sunlight in long periods of time or anything like that. But I think Adrian Black, for his Adrian's Digital Basement, and I don't know if it's his main channel or the second one, but he did a little experimentation of, you know, going through and just seeing if he could get EEPROMs to erase otherwise. I mean, there are EEPROM erasers for a reason to go through and wipe these. But despite all that, I mean, I need to go through, and I still do have out my tweener system over here, and I'll go through and connect up the EEPROM reader and eventually to get that read out, just to see what version that is and how it compares to the Enhancer Z chipset. Now we'll be looking a little bit at these jumpers and things like that in a moment. I can probably look at the back. I mean, this is going to take probably a multimeter to go through, and some of these jumpers may be like a VRAM capacity or something like that. And it's nice that knowing what this, we're not operating with a kind of a blind knowledge anymore, because this, the 82C451 chip has a diagram of it. It's got showing what all the pinout and everything else is on that chip. So, you know, we'd be able to resolve what the pins are, what they go to on this, and just kind of see what some of these jumper functionalities may be, looking at other designs. And that's the nature of why I have this order that came in today and padded real nice. The box looks in very nice condition. And as I say down there, you know, it's a standard box like we saw before. I mean, this looks the same, even in better condition. And it's not even, amazingly, it's not even marked. So, and there's lots of these going around. This normally should be marked as the VGA, the Wizard adapter. And I don't know if this is necessarily new in box or anything like that. Cardboard, who knows? Anybody can do, you know, cut the cardboard like that. It was good to see the diskettes, even for all that, of them being the 5¼ inch VGA Wizard, and having these original discs to this. Even though there's software, there's more up-to-date software that's available online that I've gone through and unzipped, you know, downloaded, starting to look it over. You know, and this has where it can be the 512K or the 1 megabyte of VRAM. It's marked on that last disc. And it didn't have a manual, although I'm sure I can find something like that relatively easy. And so there's the board. And Major Tom, when he saw what these are, you know, he was remarking that there's less jumpers on the ISA board than what there was for the Eagle board. But it's all the same relative thing. I got that V5000-50 PC-B. So I have the B version, and there is 1989, the 46th week. Yep, get a little bit better in focus for both you and me. And then it has an EEPROM in there, and I need to go through and read that EEPROM. And that looks to be about the same relative level that was on the Enhancer Z. And the Eagle, I think, had in the example that was online on the eBay auction, I think it was version 2 something. And I'll have to read to what that is. Now, on these diskettes, I'm pretty sure, just being the 5¼ format, as well as all the other software I found for this ISA version, does not have the ADF the adapter description file for this adapter, this Eagle adapter. It's a lost ADF. And that to me is a little bit remarkable for it being out there and everything else. So that ADF just really disappearing, because there's a lot of people that went through and would have this as an adapter that was out there at the time. They would have used. And for the Enhancer Z, I actually had a diskette with the one that I got new in box. I went through and I archived that diskette, and the Enhancer Z has effectively two ADFs for it, because you have a single jumper and that jumper changes. It's either one ADF or the other, and it's an 80. It's like an 8202 and I think an 8002 ADF. And this, I'd have to look for the Eagle. I think it's like an 8100. I'm trying to think of the ADF right off the top of my head. And so everything I had to the Enhancer, there was basically nothing online when I got to the Enhancer Z, and I went through that documentation process as well. And this is years and years ago, and I documented everything to the board, and we were able to get the diagram. Lewis Olin got that diagram up, got the components identified. We still need to go through and switch over that to list that's actually an 82C451 in disguise from Chips and Technology, and get some specifics there. But also that diskette for the Enhancer Z did not have, it only had the ADF, the two ADFs that this adapter uses, not anything that the Eagle does. So I'm gonna get turned around back on screen, and I think it'll be made a little bit easier that it is has such similarities from the Eagle board to the Enhancer Z that it'll still be a lot of the drivers, a lot of the functionality between the boards is going to be a lot of the same. They use the same VGA chipset. They have very similar ROMs. Some of that stuff might be relatively interchangeable. And the Enhancer Z page, and this is what I went through and compiled all the detail. I mean, Lewis Olin went through and put it in this format, put it online, and Major Tom has gone through probably and edited this page as well. See, as it says, put the drivers and scan the manual for us all. So there's the manual and the other things that the manual describes, such as that jumper setting. And going through and just explaining all of it. One of the systems, of course, can be the 50Z, but the manual showed for the got even as specific as, if it was put in the 50 or 50Z, what slot it would be there. And that's based on that AV slot, 16-bit slot with the AVE extension. And that it could tie in and use that to communicate with the video subsystem on the planar or a base video adapter that would be on the system. And that would be critical for the Enhancer Z, because it has no other output. For it to be effective, it has to be in an AVE slot. And so we'll see how that compares to the Eagle. And since, despite for it being a video board, having nothing to really tell the system of that it's in a base video extension slot or anything like that that it would normally, that a video board would typically have. So yeah, there's the, as I said, the adapter IDs, the 8002 hex and 8202 hex for the ADFs of that. So there's the Enhancer Z page, and certainly I can go through and include that in the video description. We'll go through. I'm gonna just kind of look over. I think a lot of these jumpers for the ISA board that has one jumper, that being close to the chips, and that is probably going to be something related to the and it looks like that trace goes in. I'm trying not to have too much reflection. That's 1989, 43rd week. But the jumper being the pins up here, and the trace is going down to the VRAM. So it's probably an associated thing, whether it's 512 or a megabyte of VRAM, something maybe like that. And then it's got that J1 connection that comes off the chip, interesting enough. That might be interesting to kind of compare to that pinout of the chips and technology. 82C451. And the jumpers here, and it's got a PAL chip down here in the corner by the jumpers. These might be an address decode, related to the address decode, maybe to the point where it does have a similar ADF scheme of having one or the other ADFs that you could go through and set on the board. And Major Tom commented that may have been for like the Enhancer Z being just a simple board going through and jumping between the ability to be set to two different ADFs, of not necessarily having IBM authorization for that scheme. And then going through, it's marked with something there, and this is the 1990 week 32. And it looks like I may have to even clean contacts, run an eraser over them or something to that nature. Even like cardboard fiber or something there. And at least it's not beard hair, as we saw the other day. And it's marked as Alterflex. But those jumpers there, they're up in here. And I probably got, I stepped away from the webcam, and I probably didn't pull down the picture there again, but hold this up in an area where I know it's visible on the camcorder. And we have the ring light going through and giving a lot of reflections, but there's the jumpers. I think the other jumpers, there's 3-pin jumpers that are here, with the squares being effectively pin 1 of those jumpers. The center pin being the common, and you could adjust either way. And it's where we'll go through and basically track down a little bit of the traces of that, just to kind of see where they go to and what they may do. And I can go through and have just a benched out planer that I'll go through and that I can try and get adapter IDs and just to move those jumpers around. Probably I'll do with the J7 and J8 just to see if that changes the address decode for that at all. And if they go in, the jumpers go into that PAL, that's gonna, you know, be a little bit interesting there, because then that's probably an IO decode of all that for the pause ID of this adapter, or the adapter ID. But we don't see, I don't see that same header that the ISA board has on these. But you know, the ISA board has the so-called feature connector there, that P3, and for all that, and even there's a unpopulated jumper there, that W2, like feeds into the chip. Well, you can almost even see the pins that goes to. But I mean, IBM didn't have anything with their feature connectors that they went through and used. They're not on any planar VGA, really, for the VGA level. The only place I've seen feature connectors is on the Model 30, and that's the MCGA graphics. So kind of a, you know, looking over that board, and we've got to go further. I've got to get that EEPROM copied and to go through to figure those jumper settings out and kind of start compiling data on this. We'll probably have the drivers easily enough, but that ADF, and we just may have to go for the similarities to the Enhancer Z to go through and to get this figured out for the differences between the two. So there they are, side by side, very, very similar. Still a lot of dust and everything else. And this is the way I received it. This didn't sit around. This didn't sit around and collected the dust for me. And you know, I get out my brush, and no doubt I can go through and put some beard hair and stuff like that on this for all the video shots and make it shots and make it more shiny so the ring light reflects more off of it. But that is a look at the Ahead Systems Eagle adapter. And stay tuned for more. If you enjoy this content, click on that like button and subscribe my channel, please, if you are not already. I'd love to have more subscribers. Recommend this to your friends if they're interested in that content as well. But this is IBM Museum. That's all I have for now. Thank you.